You're sitting with your accountant and congratulations, you made a profit of $200, $300, $500,000 this year. Then you look down at your bank account balance, you look back at them and say, but where's the money? For the average dentist, their annual cash flow improvement in the first 12 months has been $65,000 a year. I get a list of all of the debts over the multiple practices. They're bleeding $45,000 a month. I reach out and say, we need to speak the next day. And so we get back on a Zoom call and I said, okay, I can free up $20,000 a month in the next hour. The way you're going to make an impact in this world is by teaching people, I now call it the new rules of finance, but more importantly, the system around it, so that that person can get to their freedom sooner.
Welcome to a new era of dentistry, the ultimate podcast for uncovering the latest trends, breakthroughs, and real-life stories in the dental industry, hosted by Ashley Bond with Wisdom, along with co-host Stephanie Neville. This podcast will explore hot topics, chat with industry leaders, and share the stories that are redefining how dental professionals enhance patient care and the dental practice environment. Let's get started and reshape the future of dental care together, one episode at a time. For today's episode, we are really excited to bring you a special guest. We have with us today Dr. Howard Polanski. Why is that exciting, you ask? Well, we talk about revenue a lot in your billing cycle, but we don't really talk about what to do with your money when you make it or how to make sure that you make it. Dr. Howard Polanski started his career as a dentist, Navy, but he helps families and businesses now with a simple financial system so they can reduce debt across a plethora of items and then manage the payments effectively and maintain your lifestyle, keep more of your money each month, and achieve your dreams faster. He's got a great slogan, I think. Learn how to become your own CFO, a cash flow optimizer. So, Dr. Polanski, tell us a little bit more about you and what I just said, what you do, and why you do it.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I want to first start out with, you call me Howard. I don't practice anymore. All
Okay.
right. And I'm
It's
not
so
going to practice
ingrained in me.
teledentistry. No. I refuse to go by doctor if you keep on calling me that.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the pivot point because that's going to explain a lot. I tell people now, sometimes life leaves you little clues and other times life hits you with a 2x4. So my 2x4 moment was Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend, 2018. Jaden, my older son, is 12 years old. I'm sitting next to his bed. He realizes I'm there and he says, Dad. His voice is barely above a whisper. Yeah, buddy. I lean over the bed. I put my ear over his mouth to make sure I can hear him. And he says 3 words I'll never forget. Am I dying? 12 days earlier, Jaden came home with a stomach ache. 3 days after the stomach ache, we're in the ICU at the Children's Hospital having emergency surgery. It was appendicitis that turned septic, 29 days in the hospital, 19 of them in the ICU, 8 straight days of sedation because he went to the operating room 5 times. After they take the tube out of his throat, they give him methadone and morphine to bring him down from the drugs he was on. So my 12-year-old son looks like a heroin addict coming down from a high. And the very first question he will only ask me are those 3 little words. Am I dying?
Wow. You gave me
My
chills.
first breath was, yeah, you talk about a moment in life where nothing else matters. That was it. And so my first breath was, did I hear him correctly? My second breath was, do not lose it right now. And I look him in the eyes and I tell him, no, you're not dying. You've had prayers from thousands of people all around the world and you're going to be just fine. He looks at me. He knows I'm telling him the truth. He closes his eyes to get more rest. I walk outside the room and then I broke. I was
Mm.
already miserable. I was burnt out from dentistry and I was taking it out on everyone around me. But when I broke, only one thought seared into my mind. If life is this fragile and I'm unhappy with the path that I'm on, burn the ships. It's over. And that's what I did. I sold my practice and walked away from the dental chair September 2018.
Wow, that is such a compelling story. And you're making me sit here and self-reflect, which I need to quit doing, and so I can listen to you some more because you have so much to offer. But I think already this soon into this episode, it just gives everybody pause to think about, are you doing what you're meant to do, whether it's dentistry or not? And kudos to you for realizing it wasn't meant for you and getting out, because I know a lot of doctors, dentists keep doing it because they don't know what else to do with themselves while others thrive. It's great. They love that life. What did you do next? And is your son okay now?
Sometimes I forget to answer that part. The answer is yes, he's fine. Everything worked out okay. 18
Good.
inches less of intestines, some really cool scars. Knock on wood, no long term health issues came about. And he's now in his first year of college, loving life. Everything's going great. I mean, knock on wood. I know some people do not end up having a positive situation. And we were lucky. We were damn lucky with everything that happened. So, with that transition, as I'm getting out of dentistry, I had a couple of sleep apnea clients that I wanted to transfer to another dentist that I knew was an expert in it. And we're having lunch, and he asked me an obvious question. How are you walking away? Now, what I didn't know when he asked me that question is that this dentist was going through a double divorce.
Mm,
Not only were they getting divorced from their wife was also a dentist and owned the practice 50-50. So he had money bleeding from every which way possible. But when he asked me the question, I had no clue. And I made one dumb comment to him, which changed my entire life. I kind of figured out how to make money move. Now, he
mm.
gave me that Scooby Doo look. I tried to explain it that day. I didn't do a good job. But a few weeks later, I get the next statement in the mail for my house payment, and I sent it to him as a joke to say, hey, take a look at this. Stephanie, my house payment was $24.19.
What?
Yeah. And so he writes back, I see it. I just don't understand how you can have a $24 house payment. I'm buying a condo next month. Will you be my coach? Okay. He was going to do the 30-year mortgage. He paid off the condo in 8 months. And so he tells his business partner, I tell a friend of mine what happened. They become the next two people I help. And now, instead of listening to my head, I listen to my heart. And it says the way you're going to make an impact in this world, it's not dentistry. It's not doing another root canal. It's not doing another crown. The way you're going to make an impact in this world is by teaching people, I now call it the new rules of finance, but more importantly, the system around it so that that person can get to their freedom sooner. However, you decide to define freedom, it's not for me to decide. It's you want to go private jetting around the world and that's your freedom, great. If yours is living, in a van down by the river, great. I don't care what it is. It's just one of those, I want you to get there far faster than you could ever imagine.
Wow. Great Chris Farley Saturday Night Live reference, by the way. Love that short. So, how many of your secrets do I get to ask for today? Because I'm not a dentist, but I want to get my house payment down to $24 a month.
Nothing that I share is top secret. You got to pay me a gazillion dollars for. You can ask me whatever you want. Because all of the information's already out there. It's where people ask for my help is in terms of being a guide. And here's what I mean, Stephanie, is that when people say it's like, what do I need you for? Well, when I am a guide, when I am acting as a coach, I just tell people like, look, my partner Nicole, she owns two Pilates studios near around where we live. And so Stephanie, just imagine that you were one of her clients and you go into her studio and you just say, Nicole, I'm just so tired today. I don't want to do the Pilates. Here's for the hour. Can you do the workout and I get the six-pack abs?
Mm,
Everyone just laughs. They're like, that's not going to happen. It's like, exactly. Like, yes, what I teach is not that hard. The hard part is just the mental part to say, is he for real? Can this actually work? And you need someone as a guide to make sure not only, yes, you can do this, but then once you get to that base level of comfort, then you can start asking advanced questions in terms of, hey, I want to invest in this, or we're looking to buy another piece of equipment for the practice, or whatever it is. How is that going to affect the overall strategy? It's like, well, you take money from here, it's going to take X amount of months to pay it off, but it's like, who cares? It's still going to be years faster than how you were doing it before. It's just nice to know that you have someone to bounce these ideas off to say, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Makes sense or not? It's like, look, it's your life. You do whatever you want. You just want to verify, do the numbers make sense? Or am I going to put myself behind the eight ball if I try and do this? That's all I'm here for. So I am never going to tell anyone in terms of where to invest their money. I'm not a financial advisor in that capacity. So you invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, crypto, real estate. I don't care. It's just we get the widget. How do we pay the widget off really fast so we don't have to worry about that fixed payment anymore?
I'm hearing it that it somewhat starts with the goals. A person has to at least know what their goals are first, right? Do you see dentists that come to you that they don't even know what their goals are yet? They just know, I'm stressed out. I don't know what to do. Where do I even start to get this financial rat's nest in order?
The answer is sometimes. Most people have an idea in terms of what freedom looks like. You may not have every single step of it done, but you have an idea in terms of like, if I'm working 5 days a week, I'd love to work three. If can I bring on an associate? Can I get rid of my practice loan? Like I've got 8 years left and it's costing five, six, 12, 15, $20,000 a month. When the hell is that going to be done? Is there any way to possibly get that out of my life sooner? Answer is usually yes, with the caveat of one of the risk factors is your income greater than your expenses on a consistent basis? Because it is math. We got to start with basic math. You know,
Yeah.
if you're running negative every single month, this isn't going to work for you. I'm not the government. I can't keep printing money. All right. So we've got to start with the simple thing of income greater than expenses. If we got that, then we can get going.
That makes sense. So, specific to dentists, when they come to you, what would you say if they are operating under in the red and they're not collecting everything that they could? Do you get into the weeds of that, or what would you say is the biggest contributor to practices that are suffering financially with profit?
The answer usually is no. I mean, unless there is a serious way of changing, getting rid of the fixed debt payments.
Mm,
Okay.
mhm,
And so, again, I'm not here to hold any secrets back. What I'm showing people how to do is to utilize lines of credit effectively and strategically. I just like bringing up stories because these are actual clients of mine. So I've got one dentist who, multiple locations, they reach out to me and they're like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I've had multiple locations for a while. Everything was great. Now all I know is like I am taking my spouse's salary, putting it in the bank account, and then shoving it into the practices because the money is gone. Like, okay, so we get the numbers. They're bleeding $45,000 a month over the multiple practices. And so I get a list of all of the debts, and they just got a business line of credit. Didn't start using it yet, thank God. And once I get that, I reach out and say, we need to speak the next day. And so we get back on a Zoom call. And I said, okay, I can free up $20,000 a month in the next hour. Where their immediate answer was BS. I said, no, let me break this down. And they were like, oh my God. I mean, it was nice for them the next question to say, how fast can I pay you? But it wasn't that. It was just that to literally cut the bleeding in half because of how most people think of lines of credit in terms of it's the last resort. And it's not. It's that when you understand that this can be used as a strategic weapon
mm,
against other debt in your life, because of the way that it's an open ended tool, it becomes extremely powerful in terms of how to manipulate things. And for that one dentist, 90 days later, we freed up an extra $4,000 a month and then freed up an additional multiple six figures of cash just as a buffer. So literally like that cash flow change is $270,000 a year moving forward. Now, does that get them out of the red? No, but it's nice not to be going backwards as fast. And then if they use the service like Wisdom in terms of collecting everything that they're supposed to, now all of a sudden we're working both offensively and defensively at the same time.
That makes so much sense. And just for the sake of transparency to the audience, before we got started, Howard told me a lot of the times when I'm on podcasts, the people that I'm on with want to talk to me after the fact and ask me personal questions. So I definitely have some, which, makes me ask, it isn't just dentists you serve, right? Your recipe for success here can be applied to genuinely anything for anybody.
Yeah, it comes down to number one, are you a good steward of your money? Okay. And
Mhm.
so, what I'm looking for when I'm gathering people's numbers, which is 100% free, because I need to know where our starting point is. Okay. And so, I am looking overall, if someone's household income, I kind of say is over 100,000, preferably over 150,000, preferable, doesn't have to be, but you're good stewards of your money. Income greater than expenses. You're already putting away for retirement. You already have an emergency fund. You still have extra money left over. Now you're like, now what? This can work extremely well until you realize or until you find out in terms of that now what? Now you get to play offense, but you've got a much bigger pot to play with to play offense. And again, more importantly, control the debt, know how to manipulate the debt so you're not paying a gazillion dollars in interest. All right. But to answer your question, Stephanie, in terms of how much of an impact has this made for clients? More than half of my clients are dentists, kind of for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
For the average dentist, their annual cash flow improvement in the first 12 months has been $65,000 a year. For non dentists, for the W 2 employees, it has still been close to $40,000 a year. So I know you're not a dentist, but if the idea that the average person he has helped has improved their cash flow $3,000 a month, shit, I take it.
Right, I know. Like, you're gonna be my new bestie now. I'm glad I have your email. I'm kidding. Everybody will have Howard's email when we're done with this. I have my brain calculator running while you talk. I'm glad you mentioned wisdom, of course, since we're hosting this. So, dentists out there, collect every dollar you're owed. And if you're not, reach out to us, info@withwisdom.com, and we can help you figure out why. Even if you're not a client, we'll help you figure out why you're not collecting your hard earned money. But equally as importantly, whether you are or you aren't, you get to that point, you need somebody like Howard to make sure that your money goes to the right place so that you can enjoy your life more. Because the overarching thing here is I know this just from sitting knee to knee with Dennis for, I guess I won't give my age away, but I started clinically really young. I spent a couple of decades knee to knee with Dennis before I moved into billing and revenue cycle management and all those things. And y'all are stressed out. Rightfully so. The whole clinical staff is. It is grueling, and so many people don't realize that. So I think this is a lifeline because if you're happy financially, to me, I'm thinking there are probably a great deal of dentists who are like, they're not happy, but it's not so much because they don't enjoy being a clinician. It's the stress of the financial side of the practice. So maybe if you remedy that, you can enjoy what you do because you have more free time. You don't have to work as much if you're spending your money wisely.
100%. In fact, I spoke to someone this morning, not a client. I was actually, before we jumped on, analyzing their numbers in terms of what they gave me. I'll keep this as broad as possible so you can't figure out of the roughly 170,000 dentists who this might be. But they do well. But things have happened in their life that where all they had to do was focus on dentistry before, and now the business part has become, they're just like the noose around their neck where they're like, dentistry's fine. It's everything else which is driving me insane. Okay. Now, again, from the numbers that I got, they actually are doing quite well. Of course, they feel like I'm not making enough. And it's like, we never feel like we're making enough. However, when I look at the personal side, thankfully, the only debt that they still have is on their house. Right. But their emergency fund is mid five figures, say between 30 and $80,000. And they just dumped a bunch of money into their house because they're like, I don't want the mortgage anymore. Now there's still a substantial amount to go. And if they just paid their payment for the rest of the way, it would take them about 12 years to pay this off. And I was just looking in terms of if nothing else changes, they kind of know what their monthly expenses are. they can 8x their emergency fund and pay off their house in 2.5 years instead of 12 and a half years. And I'm not saying that they have to double the practice. The practice stays exactly the same. If they even increase 10% in collections, all that's going to fall to the bottom line where instead of being done in 2.5 years, they might be done in 20 months. But it's just about how does money move through your life? Because there's a reason why money is called currency. It has to move, it has to flow. And it's either you understand how to make it flow for your own economy, or you can do what the banks want you to do, park the money so that they can take your money and flow it for themselves.
Love that. You've got some Howardisms that I'm going to have to try to store in my brain for all of time when it comes to finances. I'm going to sound really smart when I talk to my husband tonight while we eat dinner. And it's all thanks to you. Not that I'm not smart, but I don't usually talk about money. That's usually his gig, but you're inspiring me to want to talk about it.
And now the
Um,
problem's going to be is like, sweetheart, what crap have you been listening to? Because I'm not liking this. Like, this is not your realm.
oh gosh, no, he'll ask me, who did you talk to on the podcast today?
And how do you delete
Um,
his email address as fast as you can?
I don't know. I think he may ask for it because he's going to like the things that I'm going to tell him that you've shared. Gosh, all jokes aside, one thing I did think about while you were just now talking currency and flow is specific to dentists, student loans. It's a hot topic. It's so stressful to so many. So I'm assuming that this plan can help with that as well.
The answer is yes. And I know there is a ton of debate, and I'll see this on Facebook threads in terms of do I do the save? Do I do the repay program? Like, look, I am not an expert in terms of which program to use and how to avoid paying for it or kick the can down the curb or whatever. Again, this is my personal opinion. Take it for what you want. No one held a gun to your head to say that you had to go to NYU or to USC and for the 4 years of dental school take out $800,000 of just dental school debt. No one held a gun to your head. And so that's number one. You took the loan, you're responsible for it. Personal opinion. The second part of this is I don't trust the government that you pay on it for 20 years, whatever it is, and they're just going to magically let it disappear. Can you really trust for 20 years and hope and pray versus paying the freaking thing off? Can't even trust them for next week. You want to trust them for 20 years? I like to me
Right.
that's just the absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. But look, I get it. And the reason why these questions come up is exactly because it is about cash flow. It's not about profit. And here's why I make the differentiation. I have asked this in front of dentists before, and all I just see are heads nodding like this in terms of how does this guy know what my conversation is with my accountant every year? And I just say, I just start out, you're sitting with your accountant and congratulations, you made a profit of 200, 300, $500,000 this year. Then you look down at your bank account balance, you look back at them and say, but where's the money? We're speaking two different dialects of money. Your CPA is speaking the dialect of the IRS and the tax code and trying to minimize what you have to pay to the government. Extremely important. The problem is you live in the real world and you can't pay. Would you be happy if Ashley started paying you with seashells and with love? No, you need
No.
freaking cash. And so it's like you're trying to pay people out of the cash that flows through the business. And so boil it all down. I am just an interpreter between what is your accountant saying? What is your profit and loss statement saying? And what is your bank account saying? Because if the accountant actually took 15 seconds and two sentences to say, "Hey, let's just pretend, Stephanie, you're the dental practice owner, you're the dentist. You know that you make that payment on your practice loan every month?" You're like, yeah. Not all of the payment shows up on the profit and loss statement, only a portion of it. If they
Mhm.
could speak English and just tell you that, that explains 95% of the difference. But they don't. They start
Mm.
going into all of this IRS and tax codies, and it's 80,000 freaking pages. No one's going to read that and try and understand it. Where's the
No.
goddamn money? That's all I care about.
Where's my money? It's like I'm picturing Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Where is my
Yep.
money? That's what everybody wants to know. That was a very unique answer to that question, which I love. I think overall, it's not a matter of, again, it's just going to circle back to what you've said a couple of times here. You've got to change the current if the current isn't running in the right direction. If you're, it doesn't matter if it's student loans, your house, or your practice debt, or whatever, you have to figure out how to take your profit and channel it to the right places in the right time to accomplish your financial goals and relieve your stress. And I can already tell that you definitely have a very unique understanding of how to do that. So, if any of our listeners want to get a hold of you to have your help, how should they go about that?
Well, a couple different ways. My company used to be called Cashflow Coach USA. I know I've been lazy and haven't changed my email. So if you want to email me, howard at cashflowcoachusa.com. The company is now called Financially Led. So financiallyled.com. If you want to get the ebook, just /ebook. But the lead is a play on words. It's a 3-step system. Number 1, lift the burden from fixed debt payments. Step 2, expand your cash reserves. Step 3, deploy the extra dollars into other assets. My actual cell phone number, no one else, no VA, no nothing like that, 512
Wow.
608 1020.
That's definitely a first. I'll make sure that all goes in the show notes, and when we publish this, your everything will be written as well. But that was really clear for anybody that's listening in their car on their way to or from work, or maybe at lunch. One more time, if you want to give your cell phone number, because I think I kind of interrupted for the listeners.
Sure. 512 608 1020.
Fantastic. And again, his company is Financially Led. That's going to wrap us up today. I need to steal Howard to ask him a few questions and keep them all to myself. So thank you so much. I'm just kidding. I think we've covered everything that we can, and maybe we'll even have you back. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here to share this wealth of knowledge. And I really hope a lot of dentists reach out to you for their own sake. If nothing else, same goes for us. Again, if you need help with the profit to bring more to the table for Howard to work his magic with, you can get a hold of us at info@withwisdom.com, and we'll wrap it up for today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey through a new era of dentistry with your host, Ashley Bond. With wisdom in their network of industry leaders, each episode offers fresh insights and support in the evolving world of dentistry. Subscribe, stay tuned, and transform your career, practice, and patient experience. Until next time, keep innovating, keep caring, and stay smiling.